Cello! We're back for Thanksgiving weekend 2024, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, my man.
Yeah, you too, man. We got a lot to be thankful for. Obviously, living the
Sure
lives
do.
that we lead despite all of our challenges.
Well said. Yeah, really looking forward to the weekend. Got big Thanksgiving. We're hosting over here at the Simon House.
Beautiful.
Got either 14 or 15 people coming.
Feeding a lot of bellies.
Yeah, got a 14-pound bird. We were cooking today. I don't know about you, but well, you're not hosting. You're going to Allegra's, or you're
We're going to my mom and Michael's house, but we have an issue with our house with the kitchen being redone
all right.
due to the flood, so we haven't been cooking here for months, and there was
You
no cooking
usually
today.
host Thanksgiving anyway.
Normally we don't, although last year we did. I mean, we have. I mean, we host every holiday basically here, especially since my mom's passed the last couple of years. But this year different. It's just going to be, we're guests, which would be nice in a way.
Yeah.
No cleaning up.
Yeah. It's a nice. We usually don't host. My sister does, but for some reason we are this year, and I think it's partly because a lot of my nephews and nieces, they all live in Boston.
Okay.
And so it just breaks up, instead of making them drive all the way to Cherry Hill. It's like
Yeah, it's easier. You're
an hour and
closer.
a half less, and then they go down and stay with her for the night. But at least it breaks the drive up a little bit better.
Beautiful. Good. Well, one thing I did do is cancel the turkey bowl for tomorrow morning. The weather here is going to be 40 and raining, and nobody wants to play in that. And you got the guys that'll bail, and then we're all standing around waiting for guys to show up. So I just canceled the whole thing, and I've been under the weather a little. I've sipping some tea here, but that's probably advisable for me too. I'll rest up, and I'll get back out there Sunday, regular Sunday game.
Decided not to go with the bourbon, huh?
Well,
Smart
there's
man.
there is a little Tullamore Dew honey in the tea.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump in. We got 16 games. Let's just hop onto the Thanksgiving card. I'm thinking about throwing down a contest, by the way. I think I'll do that. Everybody at wantamakebet.com will do a Thanksgiving Day. I don't know. There's NBA stuff on the line. We'll do an all sports Thanksgiving Day contest, $50 cash we'll give away. Everyone gets 50,000 for the day, and fire away all day long.
Can you in that league? Can you bet like a Knicks Green Bay parlay?
No.
Okay.
You can only do, and I don't know if there's any college football tomorrow. I don't.
There
think
probably is.
There might be.
Yeah.
Let me take a look at that. Actually, it's a good question. But anyway, we'll do an all sports contest, and whatever's on the board for the day will be fair game. Let's see, NCAA football. Yeah,
There's games.
Plays Tulane tomorrow night.
Yeah,
there's a game.
The Green Wave. Listen, anybody who's been following our picks, just to recap, we went 2-3 last week. Heartbreaker with Minnesota in overtime. They blew the 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter of the Bears. I actually had the Bears in that game plus 3.5, even though we had them in the contest. I don't know why. I just felt like the Bears have been playing people close, but that game hurt. We were dead wrong on Houston. Tennessee actually won the game outright. It's, you can't really fault us for not having Tennessee. They burned us so many times. Anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that we can't seem to get Tennessee right. That's for sure. We won with Baltimore. We had another winner too that was pretty easy, and we lost with the Colts.
Yeah, Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's save our commentary on all those games, and let's just do it in the context of this week's games, because there's so many.
All right, let's start off with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, let's start it off with tomorrow's first game. Chicago Bears playing the Detroit Lions, getting 10.5. Market's sort of moving in the other direction on this game. Chicago's taking money.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to bet on the Bears. I don't care what the market's doing. At the same time, I don't know what you think, but I think there is something to be said for the fact that Detroit's been on the road, I believe, for 3 straight weeks. And no, sorry, that's Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to to lay this big of a number, especially those trends that you were firing off earlier. They haven't won on Thanksgiving in like 8 years.
They haven't really. Yeah. I mean, last year I know they lost outright to Green Bay. I mean, the Bears are not as good as Green Bay. To me, I
Oh,
like
it was
the 10 and a
Green
half.
Bay last year. Okay. I remember last year they kind of ruined everyone's Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah, they lost outright to Green Bay. Goff had a bad game, and Jordan Love had 4 touchdowns. Caleb Williams, I think, is playing much better football. I know the Bears are a different team on the road than they are at home, but I mean, they just basically played 2 games at home that are division games. They lost in a blocked field goal game they should have beaten Green Bay. They lost last week. They went to overtime in Minnesota. They had a bad series in overtime, and they never touched the ball again. But they crawled back in that game, and I like the way their offense is playing. They always play pretty good defense. 10 and a half to me, Jack, seems like a gift. I mean, I like the Bears. I don't know how. I mean, Detroit's got a lot of injuries. I mean, a laundry list of guys did not practice, and the Bears have no injuries. So I like the Bears. I jumped on the 10 and a half last night. I have it in the pick pool. I'd be willing to take it in our top 5. I just think it's too many points.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, Montgomery, questionable. St. Brown, questionable. Taylor Decker, out.
Yeah, Decker's out. That's a big loss for them.
Oh, yeah. Left tackle? Kidding?
Totally.
And then they got some issues.
St. Brown's going to play. He always plays. He's so tough. You know, we talked about that early in the year. Like, you see these guys questionable, and you know which ones you figure out which ones are always going to play. He's one of those guys that always plays.
Yeah. Well, usually questionable means they'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. But, you know, listen, if they don't practice, I know it's a short week. You know, listen, I just think, you know, my feeling on this is
that to me, I mean, there's so much breath wasted on someone not practicing. I mean, I can't even believe these shows on ESPN and NFL Network. All they talk about is who missed practice. I mean, who gives a shit? These guys are hurting during the week and they don't practice.
Yeah, but if they don't practice at the end of the week and they don't go through the walkthrough and the game plan, they're out. They don't. These coaches don't play those guys. They don't.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a lot of times. You know, it just, I mean, they're not up to speed on the game plan, and it's not like this is a different sport than other sports. You know,
yeah.
Like Iverson used to say, you know, he didn't even need to practice. It's basketball. I mean, it's different. You know,
practice, man.
Come on,
we ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice,
not the game. Practice. So sick. He was the best.
All right, so you like the Bears.
I do.
Let's talk at the end of the show. I could maybe be talked into that, but I don't like them.
I mean, that hook is big for us. I think that hook's big for us.
Last week.
Yep.
The Vikings should have covered that game. I believe we were on the right side. They were up by 14 points with
fourth quarter.
6 minutes left.
Fourth quarter. 2 touchdowns by the Bears.
They took their foot off the gas. These late rallies by the Bears, I'm so sick and tired of them. They get the onside kick last week to get the game over. It's a joke. I think they suck, and I'm not a fan of Caleb Williams. And I'm not going to be back. I'm not going to join you on that. I'm sorry.
I think there's a little bit of a revenge factor here for Swift, who Detroit basically kicked him out of town. I mean, he's going to score a touchdown tomorrow. I mean, I'm taking him in any time touchdown thing for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's move on. Giants, Dallas, as we were just talking about on the phone.
Yeah.
Cutlets did not get on the plane. So we're going to be seeing Drew Lock. I mean, I think Dallas has a crazy amount of injuries right now.
Yeah.
And this to me is an extremely ugly and comical game where both fans of these teams will be laughing at the ineptitude that will be on display. I saw the total was like 36.
Yep.
It's going to be a disgusting, ugly game. Thank God it's the middle game. Most people will be eating and won't even watch it. And all that said, I think Dallas is laying too many points. I think it's on the wrong side of 3. And the fact that the Giants are getting 3.5 here with Drew Lock, who apparently has better chemistry with Neighbors than Cutlet does. But I would be inclined to take the Giants here because I just don't think Dallas should be a favorite to anyone in the league, especially not a division rival like this on national TV.
normally wrong on the Giants. To me, the Giants organization has quit. I mean, they benched their starting quarterback because they're afraid to pay him the money if he gets hurt. The message in the locker room, I don't know if you heard Rex Ryan this week. I thought he was spot on. The organization quit on the players, and the players last week played like a team that doesn't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense is checked out. They don't make tackles. They don't sack anybody. They don't rush the passer. They got destroyed by Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay ran it at will. Their offense is inept. I know Neighbors is good,
Again,
and I like the tight end. I can't bring myself to bet.
I said last week about the Dallas-Washington game, that it was no different than the Steelers-Browns game. We'll talk about that later. And I see this as the exact same situation. I don't care what the Giants did last week against Tampa at home. They embarrassed themselves in front of their fans. But now they're playing on national TV on Thanksgiving against a team they hate. And I think they'll show up.
They may or they may not. You're not going to get me to bet with you. So good luck.
Okay. Let's move on. The night card, which actually happens, thankfully, is the best game of maybe the Chicago-Detroit game is just as
no, this is a better game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
these are two teams that could make the playoffs. I mean, Miami is a rejuvenated team. We've been talking about it since Tua came back. If you take away the first loss against Arizona at home, they've won 3 straight after that. My concern here is always my concern with Tua. It's going to be 30 degrees. It's going to be a little bit windy, dry, but anything under 40, he's never won a game. He knows that, and he said he's ready to smash that, and he doesn't care. But honestly, trends are trends. I like Green Bay in the under.
Wow. Yeah, my initial reaction when I saw this was to take the bait and take Miami, but I think I'm wrong about that. I think it's a Green Bay, type of night. It's freezing cold. He doesn't play well in the cold.
Does not.
Despite the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually. So they beat the Rams. Then they came home and they beat the
Raiders.
They beat up the Raiders,
and then they pounded New England last week. Which I love that game. That was we couldn't agree on it, but that to me that was my easiest win of the week because New England never wins there, and Tua is hot. He threw 4 touchdowns. I don't see Miami playing well in the cold. I know he doesn't play well in the cold. I don't think the receivers like it in the cold. Waddle and Hill, and Green Bay is a hard place to play. Lambeau at night in the cold. They're used to it. They can run the ball with Jacobs, who's been great. I mean, A-Chain's great too. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I don't see a shootout. So I think I know Dobbs isn't playing for Green Bay, so that maybe hurts him a little. Maybe Wicks might be the guy that steps in. But either way, I don't see huge numbers for any of these quarterbacks in this game. I think it's a low scoring, and I don't see Miami scoring a lot in this weather. I don't.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but I'm not getting on board because I'm not a fan of Jordan Love. And
I mean, we're only laying 3 at home. So basically what they're saying is this is an even game on a neutral zone.
In the contest, we have to lay 3.5. So
that sucks. I mean, it was never there. That's stupid.
Well, it was. It was.
That sucks. All right, so we're not taking it. I already have it in every bet I have on tomorrow. I have Green Bay with the Bears. And I actually
my gut tells me Miami here, but I'm really deathly afraid of going against Green Bay at home at night in the cold and his record in the cold. But I'm kind of feeling Miami a little bit.
They've been playing better. Listen, they had to have impressed you with the win at the Rams. I mean,
all 3 of the last 3 weeks they've looked great.
Yeah, but this is, I think, a different animal.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Okay, let's move on. We've got the Black Friday game, which is Las Vegas, the Chiefs, and we've got 13.5 here. What I'm shocked about, and I don't think it's not so much of a downgrade to go from Gardner Minshew to Aiden O'Connell. It's basically a sort of a lateral move. However, Aiden O'Connell, I don't think is ready to play. Like he's got his grip issue and they're sort of like activating him off the IR prematurely in my mind. And so if he can't grip the football, I don't know how they're going to be competitive in this game. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be competitive even if it was Minshew, but I'm inclined to lay the points with the Chiefs in this one.
This is a bad blood rivalry thing. That really goes back till last year. I also have the same feeling. I think Kansas City is going to destroy them. I mean, the Raiders, I don't think have enough. The quarterback situation is awful, but also they're down to a third string running back. He had a decent week last week, Abdullah. He's not awful. He's pretty quick, but Kansas City, I think, squeaking by Carolina, getting a little bit of a test there on the road and coming off a loss prior to that, and they play a hated rival at home that's wounded. This game could be, 38-3.
Yeah, I mean, I like KC's offense has looked good, and I think it's partly because their defense hasn't. I'm trying to see.
I think the live line's only 12.5 though, so 13.5 we kind of got screwed. But I would be, if it's under 2 touchdowns, I would put it in our top 5. I think Kansas City is going to roll the Raiders this week. I do.
Yeah, me too. I just want to see what the Raider defense is ranked.
Oh, it's in the 20s, mid 20s.
30th, actually. Okay, 30th and 29th. Wow, they're terrible.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah, okay.
This one's going to be. I think Mahomes is going to get his ultimate revenge here on all that shit talking the Raiders have been doing about his hair and his Kermit the Frog shit. He's going to run it up on these guys. I love Kansas City.
Well, he did in the first game, also, right?
No, it was closer. I think it was closer than we thought.
They covered. They lost.
Yeah, the Raiders covered that game.
Yeah. They were trying to tie the game there at the end. I know they were getting 8.5 at home, and they lost by 7.
Yeah, this is the one where all of the checks are cashed, so to speak. The receipts are taken on this one.
Okay, we're both on the Chiefs. I like it. Good team. Seattle Jets. I'm shocked at this. I can't believe we only have to lay 2.5 against one of the most dysfunctional teams in the league, who are not playing well. I know they're coming off a bye, but Seattle looked so good last week. Their defense against
Arizona. The defense is playing better. Gino has not been. Gino's not been great throwing the ball.
He threw a terrible pick last week.
Yeah,
my God, he did it again. But I'm not scared by anything that I'm seeing out of the Jets. And we talk about a team that's quit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle laying less than 2.5. I know it's a 1:00 game. It's a West Coast team. I don't really care. They're in a dogfight for the division. They can't afford to slip up here. Listen, the Jets have a capable roster. I think they're an unmotivated team with an old quarterback. I think the franchise is completely in disarray. They fired the general manager. Now the owner is talking about maybe benching Aaron Rodgers.
That was Woody Johnson said that in a meeting in week 4. That was what happened. That news came out basically.
Okay. Either way, I would take Seattle minus 2.5.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, Woody Johnson basically arrived at a meeting and suggested that Aaron get benched after week 4, and everyone in the room was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yes, I am. He's not playing well." And the next week, he fired Saleh.
Yeah, that was after the London week when Aaron missed the wide open throw to win the game to Garrett Wilson on the up and go.
Yep. Okay, so we both like Seattle.
Yeah.
It's something about that line stinks. It feels like such a trap, doesn't it? But I don't care. I've seen the Jets play enough. And if they beat Seattle, I will be absolutely shocked. Like the teams that they've lost to, the way that they've lost.
I mean, they beat the Texans at home, and the Texans have a good defense, but they were kind of wounded. I know Anderson didn't play that night, if you remember, and they were missing Nico Collins, and they were banged up on the offensive line that night too. And let's face it, CJ Stroud has regressed. He's had a really bad second year in the league after last year. So I don't know how much stock you put in that win, but the Jets have also lost some bad games. I mean, they lost to New England, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Okay. Next is your game, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I'll let
3.5.
you go first.
3.5.
2.5.
It's 3.5.
It's 2.5 in the contest.
I mean, that's such a joke. I'm not taking Cincinnati, and I would take the Steelers with 3.5. That's the real line in the world. So I think it's too many points. The
What
Steelers have
happened
won.
over the last? I mean, these lines come out Wednesday. What happened? Is there an injury?
No, there's no injury. It's just that's the real line.
Let me see what we are. I want to make a bet. 2.5. That's market. I don't know where you're seeing 3.5. Now the question is, I think that's a good line. Actually, it makes sense. I can't imagine since you would be laying 3.5. You guys you're 8-2, aren't you? Or
No, 8-3.
You're 8-3. What are they? 3-8.
I think the records don't matter. I mean, we all have been watching Cincinnati play, right? I mean, Joe Burrow's having an MVP season. It's just they can't stop anybody, and their kicker sucks. He's cost them 3 games. You know, so
let's overlook the line for a second here. Who do you think is going to win this football game?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's a skip game for me. You know, my heart says Pittsburgh can win it. My gut says Cincinnati's been playing at an unbelievable level, and we don't play well against Joe Burrow usually. Although the last 2 times we've played them, we split with them. We've, you know, the thing with the Steelers, they've won a lot of division games in a row up until that Cleveland game. So I don't know if that changes things. And the extra day's rest, I don't think that's necessarily good every time. So I'm a little nervous about this game, but I'm not willing to bet on Cincinnati. I bet on Cincinnati all year long, and I've lost every time. Their defense is not good. Their kicker is awful. And at the most inopportune time, they either drop the ball or he throws an interception and changes the game. He did it against Baltimore. Last week, Jamar Chase dropped the ball. That cost them a game. The guy missed 2 field goals at the Chargers, lost the game. So it's tough. My heart says Pittsburgh is a better team and they should come out of there with a win, but it's hard to be, you know, you better score a lot of points if you're going to beat Joe Burrow. I mean, he's putting up 4 touchdowns no matter what.
Yeah. I like Cincy in this game. I think, you know, your offense is bottom half of the league. We both know that. Your defense is, you know, excellent. But it's not a good matchup, and the historical trends don't support Pittsburgh in this game either. But bigger than that is just I don't think it's a good matchup if Cincy's defense happens to play well, which we've seen it on occasion, like in the Chiefs game. If they show up on Sunday and play good, tough defense against you guys, they're not going to struggle because your offense isn't good. And on the flip side, if they get the offense rolling against your sort of weakish secondary, they should be able to win this game. I like Cincy. I think the worm has turned a little bit with Pittsburgh. I think this is like the back half of the season. Everybody knew your schedule gets really tough, and it was supposed to start this week, not against Cleveland because we suck. But you lost that game, second straight road game. I don't know. I like Cincy in this one. I think it's laying less than a field goal is a bit of a gift to take Cincy here. Doesn't make, you know, I mean, forget their records, just like you said. I think they're a field goal better.
Could be.
All right. So you're not coming with me. I know that.
No.
Okay. Indianapolis, New England. I'm passing on this one.
Where's this game?
It's in New England. The Colts really disappointed us last week.
What's the line?
2.5.
New Indianapolis is minus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Indianapolis. I mean, they're way better than New England, and they need to win this game to stay in that race in the South. Even though that division sucks, they're still in it. And New England got their asses kicked last week and got exposed. I mean, listen. I think the Colts are a better team. I know that they have some injuries. I think Josh Downs is out. Pittman, I think, is hurt, but I think he's going to play. I think the rookie kid from Texas, the receiver, is going to get some time, and he's not bad. So he could be a guy that you watch. And obviously, Jonathan Taylor's still there. It's a hard game to bet, but if I had to bet it, I would lay less than a field goal and take the Colts to win this game. I don't see them, you know, I see them staying alive here and giving themselves a chance. You know, they're basically that kind of team, right? They're 1 week up, 1 week down. They win a game, they lose a game. You know, losing to Detroit, there's really no shame in it. You know, they were one play away from covering that game at 7.5. They didn't get blown out. Their
Yeah.
defense played pretty well to keep them in that game. They just didn't capitalize on any opportunities that they had, you know?
Yeah, they had look, that was one of our games, so I watched it closely and I looked at the box score. I mean, their third down conversion percentage like was 33%. They could
Mhm.
not convert a fucking third down.
Nope.
And they also really, really struggled with penalties. I think they had 10 penalties, and they
Wow.
were all like really, really costly. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the kind of penalty that just like Jonathan Taylor has a 24-yard run.
Yeah.
All fucking holding.
And there's a hold and it comes back and then you end up punting.
Now it's 1st and 20, and he was at the 50.
Yeah.
Like you just can't do that.
Yeah.
And that happened so many times.
It happens a lot in all these
Wasn't
games.
just
It
10 penalties. It was
happens in the NFL all the time. You know,
No, I
they
know.
call holding and these big plays come back. And the argument is that big play wouldn't have happened if he wasn't held.
No, I know. No, but they, look, and in the Colts defense, actually, I thought the penalties were a little sus. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think they were blatant, and like you and I always talk about, I don't think they were consequential enough to throw the flag in certain situations.
Yeah.
Like it happened with Houston, right? Like some illegal shift, which I know CJ Stroud like owned up to that, but like, anyway, back to this game. I just don't trust the Colts enough to like put them in my top 5. Like I agree with you. I think they're going to win this game,
Yeah.
but I cannot. I really hope we can find 5 and this isn't one of them, because
Okay.
Richardson is still very young and his learning curve is what it is, and I could see him not having success. Like New England's coming off a horrible loss. They're coming home. They obviously have a lot of fight in them still. So I don't like it.
All right. So it's a skip game, but to me, 2.5. I mean, I don't know if that's trap line or whatever, or I don't know. The Colts to me are a well-coached team. They got some talent. They got a young quarterback. He's going to make some mistakes. And Drake May's the same, but I don't think New England has as much talent as them.
Okay. Arizona, Minnesota. Arizona's getting 3.5. I'll say it right now. I love Arizona in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take them too. I think that's too many points. I know Kyler struggled the last 2 weeks. His numbers have been really bad. I was kind of surprised he played as poorly as he did in Seattle. I know we both had Seattle and we both liked Seattle. Actually, I'm not sure why Seattle wasn't in our top 5 last week. Maybe you didn't like Seattle, but it surprised me that it was that low scoring and that Kyler was so ineffective. He threw a bad interception. He never got the ball to Harrison. Connor had a bad game and he never does. So that I think you throw that out as one of those weird matchups. Seattle kind of always owns Arizona, and I just think you throw it out. Minnesota is very tough on defense. We know they blitz a lot. I don't think Kyler's going to have a huge game, but I think Connor will be better. And 3.5, hey, I'll take the hook.
I like the hook. I think, look, Seattle had a great game plan last week. They decided that they were going to like go all in on stopping the run, which really that was the ticket,
Yep.
They couldn't, and Murray likes to run also.
Sure.
They stopped Connor, they stopped Murray from running and forced him to throw, and he had a bad day throwing, and it was just one of those days. Yeah, I like Arizona in this spot. I think, Minnesota, they're the team who traveled for 3 straight weeks.
Yep.
I think sometimes when a team has been on the road for 3 weeks, it's, coming home is like a little harder than you would think. You know what I mean? Like you've been on the road, you've been sort of like no family commitments. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden you come home and like your wife starts asking you to do shit, and you got to like take care of kids, and you got to like go buy ice and stuff like that. Like there's a laundry list of shit she's got you doing. And it's Thanksgiving week. So it's family and stuff, everything. So it's like compounded that you've been on the road for a month and just like hanging out in hotel rooms and watching TV and ordering food. And suddenly you have like all these obligations.
You come home and get bombarded.
Yeah. And it's just not as easy as you would think. It's not like coming home after 1 week on the road. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those qualitative angles that I think is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, and also let's face it, Arizona's a competitive team no matter what. The thing is, like, The thing with them is against some of these really good pressure defenses, and Minnesota blitzes more than anybody.
Right.
That is tough for Kyler. He has a hard time. He has a hard time handling that in
Right. Now, I'll
general.
say this though, and I was listening to somebody this week who pointed out to me that Minnesota has not really faced a mobile quarterback yet this season. So yeah, they're super blitz heavy, but they've been going up against statues, like guys who literally can't move, and they've also been like, think about it, the last 3 weeks they're struggling to beat these AFC South teams.
They barely beat Jacksonville.
Right, 12.
They got lucky to beat the Bears.
Yeah, by 3.
And there was another game in there that we're not
They
remembering.
had it in hand. They barely, they barely beat the Titans.
Yes, right.
Actually, no, they covered. But they haven't been facing mobile quarterbacks. So anyway, I just like the hook.
I'm with you on Arizona. That's our second game. Kansas City and Arizona so far, 2 games.
I mean, please, if the Bears can cover against these guys, Arizona sure as shit can. Okay. Hey, Arizona, Tennessee, Washington. I don't really have like you said at the top of the show, we can't get Tennessee right. Like they knocked me out of Survivor last week, and they played great. I mean, they had a top defense in the league. Houston's horrible, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Tennessee is scary, and I can't get them right. Like I bet on them, they don't cover. I don't bet on them. They fucking knock me out of Survivor. And it's been like that all season. I just cannot get the timing right on these guys.
Yeah, I know. I believe me, I feel you. I thought Tennessee would be a lot more competitive in the beginning of the year. They might be one of those teams that on the back end goes like 5-2, and you're talking about them taking that momentum as a young team into the next season as a team that finished well. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens every year. You get some of these teams that really finish well, and you're like, wow, maybe the next year they're going to be good. The Washington has turned for the worse. Let's face it. They knocked me out of Survivor. The kicker, I mean, that was one of the most remarkable touchdowns I've ever seen in my life, the McLaurin touchdown. And I do think going for 1 was the right decision. I don't know how anyone is questioning Dan Quinn in his own building to go for 2 against a worse team when the guy just made a 54-yard field goal 3 minutes earlier. I mean, come on, you got to make an extra point. I mean, this is like rudimentary shit. I mean, if you're missing extra points, you need to be looking for another fucking job in the NFL. I'm sorry. It's unacceptable.
He should have gone for 2. I mean, absolutely agree.
Right. He can't go for 2 there. So you're home. You're playing a worse team. You kick the extra point. You go to overtime. You win the game in overtime. That's how it's supposed to work. So I don't fault Quinn at all. And I faulted Quinn for a lot in his life as a coach because he's made some fucking dumb decisions. Let's face it, but not there. The point about this game is Washington a team that's dead and buried? Because Daniels did do some things in the second half that impressed me. He's really inconsistent. He played a horrible first half. I mean, I was bashing him. They scored 6 points. I mean, it was bad football. He was not good on offense. So, and they shut McLaurin down. I didn't realize that you could take McLaurin out of the game as easily as he was taken out of the game.
Yeah.
So Tennessee plays good defense.
I'm inclined to take the Titans here, despite my inability to get them right. I think this is too many points. And if they can play another game like the one they played last week, I mean, I know it's second straight week on the road, but I think their defense is feeling themselves a little bit, and Will Levis is getting his feet underneath him every time he takes another start. I don't want it to be in our top 5, but I'm going to say I like Tennessee.
I don't think I can do it. I listen. I think Tennessee's coming off a huge win. That's a rivalry game that they won in the Texans building. They're feeling themselves pretty good here. Washington might just be an angry team that's coming off a demoralizing loss that says to themselves, hey, if we don't win a couple games here against these bad teams, we're going to be out of a playoff spot. We need to win this game. So whether they cover it or not, I don't know. I do think Daniels has the ability to put up, 3 touchdowns, either running it 1 and throwing 2, whatever it is. And I'm not sure, but I think that could be enough. 27, 28 points should be enough to cover 5.
He has struggled against good defenses. This is a top defense.
I mean, you can't call it a top defense when they gave up 56 points to Detroit a couple weeks ago.
But do you want to know what they're ranked?
I know their rank is always way better than what they are.
It's hard to say that after what I saw last week against Houston. Now, maybe
But
that's
they still gave up 27 points.
they're ranked ninth.
They still gave up 27 points last week. As good as you want to tell me they are, they're not holding teams to 10 points.
Okay, fair. Let's move on. Chargers, Atlanta, great game.
Wow. Can I just tell you something? Can I just tell you? Can I go first on this one? Because yeah. I gotta say, the way that Herbert's been playing, and obviously had a lot of drops in that other game against Baltimore, and I had Baltimore for my own reasons. After they lose to the Steelers, they win every time. So I knew that was going to happen. But let's face it, Herbert played well. The receivers over there were dropping a lot of balls. Now they got to go on the road. It's a 1 o'clock game or 4? Usually Atlanta's 4, right? I'm curious. It's 1 o'clock, yeah. And Atlanta's coming off a bye. Listen, my initial inclination was to take Atlanta as a home dog. And I don't know if I'm right about that. Kirk Cousins has not been good. If you take out the 2 games against Tampa Bay, I don't think he's been really able to generate much offense at all this year, other than those 2 games. So Atlanta, though, has had some rest. The Chargers play great on defense. We know they're going to run the ball. I don't know about Dobbins. I think Dobbins got hurt. We'll see how he is. But
he's out.
He's out. So Gus Edwards. My initial inclination was to take Atlanta. That's it.
Me too. Yeah. I think they're in a great spot here. I think without Dobbins in, and this guy, I think they got exposed a little bit on the offensive side. This guy Johnston can't catch the ball. I agree with you. I like McConkey, but
McConkey's great. And Disley, very good. Listen, the Chargers can do some really good things, and Herbert does not turn it over. The thing is, though, the one other thing I noticed is the following week they have Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And this could be like a sandwich game, an NFC team on the road where they're just not prepared, fully for this game. And Atlanta has had some rest. They have weapons.
Think about it. They're coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Chargers played Monday night.
Yeah.
And had a it's just so hard to play Baltimore.
I like Atlanta. Physical. Let's take Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What are we getting? 2.5?
We're getting 1.5.
Okay.
Market's 1. So I like that number.
All right. So we have 3 picks right now.
Yeah. Look, Atlanta doesn't have a great defense, but I think it's sort of like it's a good matchup for them because once again, Chargers, when they face a good defense, can give up 30 points.
Yeah.
We saw it with Cincy. We saw it last week with Baltimore, and Atlanta's totally in that class. They can score.
Yeah, listen, and Drake London had some time to get healthy here. So you got London, you got Pitts, you got the other guy, Zacchaeus is pretty good, and then obviously the running back who's elite, so.
Okay. Houston, Jacksonville. I think Trevor's playing. Houston's laying 4.5. I don't know why.
Dennis is back. Rocky's back.
Yeah, and I don't know why Houston's laying 4.5 to anyone the way that they played last week. I was so disappointed in them. They 10 penalties, horrible defense, especially in the secondary. CJ looked bad, bad decision making. There was nothing good about what Houston did in that game against Tennessee. And I don't know how they pick up the pieces from that and now go on the road to a team that is literally playing, I wouldn't say with house money, but playing with like reckless abandon, most likely. I don't think the Jags have quit. They're coming off a bye, so they've gotten healthy. I'm not ready to get behind the Jags here. There's a pass for me, but I'm still stinging from Houston's performance last week.
Yeah, I think this is this is a real bounce back, get right spot for CJ Stroud. I think he has a chance to finally put up real offensive numbers. Jacksonville's defense is atrocious, especially on the back end. Nico Collins got back in the action last week. He had a touchdown. He's got his full complement of receivers. Tank Dell. Listen, Tennessee has a little bit of an division rivalry going with the Texans. And I'm not saying that Jacksonville doesn't, but Jacksonville is really poorly coached. Peterson's on his way out. Everybody knows the writing's on the wall there. It wouldn't surprise me to see Tennessee. The Texans, go in there and put up 28, 35 points. The question is, I would be shocked if Tennessee's defense played as poorly as they played last week. I can't see that happening again they have to come in angry and embarrassed about what they did on, the tape they put together at home last week. I don't imagine that they'll be that bad. And I think the offense will be a lot better. So, this game to me is like, easily a double-digit win for the Texans. I think if they're a real team and Jacksonville's a fraud. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're stinging from it. Let's circle back to it. Let's look at how things progress in the week with the injuries. But and what D'Amico Ryans is saying to his team. But they seemed a little bit ripe last week to be picked off after like feeling themselves off that win that they had in Dallas. It was a short week for them. And maybe they weren't focused the way they are, but they should be really focused this week, I would think. Their defense especially.
Okay. Fair take. Let's circle back if we need a fifth.
Sure.
Tampa Bay, Carolina. Tampa's laying 5.5 on the road. Carolina's been feisty as hell the last 2-3 weeks.
Playing much better football. Bryce Young's been a lot better. Yeah. I saw Thielen got in the act. They have 2 running backs now. The kid's back. Brooks, he looked pretty good. Dare I say Carolina plus the points? I mean, this is weird. It's hard to bet on them. This should be really hard. Like, it's tough for us. We're trying not to bet bad teams, but are some of these young teams that were bad in the early part of the year, are they starting to put it together and give you the ability to actually start betting them again? That's the question about this game.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it should be one of our top 5s. I mean, let's face it, they're among the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
Although the recency bias wouldn't say that, but
that's right.
I think the time to take them was last week.
Yeah.
Like a double-digit home dog when they're feisty.
And we did like them. Neither one of us liked the Chiefs last week. We just couldn't bring ourselves to take Carolina.
So I don't want to do it here against Baker and Tampa coming off the way that they played against the Giants. I mean, they're a hot team, but I do, if you forced me to make a pick in this game, or like your thing that you do in that other where you pick every game.
Yeah, the pick and pull. Carolina. Yeah, I already did. Yep, I agree with that too.
Okay. Let's go to Rams Saints. Rams are laying 2.5 on the road. I really like the Rams in this game. I think they should be laying more than 2.5. I think the Saints are kind of like a bit of a fraud. I don't know how they've been winning by the margins that they've been winning. And
is Olave playing?
No, I don't think so. Hold on.
He was in concussion protocol, but they're off a bye. So that's 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take your brain to come back to normal?
He's on IR.
Oh, he's on IR. Yeah. Listen, Philadelphia, it kind of exposed the Rams defense, right? I mean, but I guess that's what they do with their front and Saquon. They can run through anybody. So they made the Rams look silly on defense. The Rams have no linebackers to speak of other than that one guy. They're really weak there. Their young defensive line has been good all year, but they were pushed around. You got 2 360-pound guys on the offensive line for Philly. They just dominate people. So the Saints don't have that.
I liked Philly. I couldn't get you to join me in that, but I think these young Rams, like Fisk is very good. I think it was just too much to ask for them to beat Philly. Philly's 9-2. Like they're very, they're going to probably go to the NFC Championship game and play the Lions. Like
they will.
There's no shame in like losing to Philly. But this is
I think
a major step down for
the Rams. No, it is. It is.
And who's very much alive in the NFC West.
Yeah, and it's funny.
It's a great bounce back spot for them.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because it just flashed back to me that game that Drew Brees got screwed in with that call was against the Rams, if you remember, the non-call. And then he never made it back. He was going to go to the NFC Championship game. He never made it back. And I was so angry about that. I felt so pissed for him because how an official can create something that is so lasting in someone's career that like a guy like Drew Brees should have been in, like, was that the NFC Championship game? And wasn't that the game? And then they lost, they would have gone and played New England, right? And then Goff ended up going to New England instead and getting killed.
Well, wait, wasn't or what call are you talking about? I thought
There
that
was a there was a pass interference call that was blatant that was not called. Um, when the Saints played the Rams, it was Drew Brees at the end of the game, and they were going to win the game. They were in field goal range or whatever, and they were going to go to the Super Bowl. And the ref fucked up the call, and that was started the whole thing about should you be able to challenge these calls? Should there be an eye in the sky? That's where it all started, you know.
Right.
So I don't know. It just reminded me because it's Rams Saints. The point is, I think the Rams offense is good enough. Stafford's great. Listen, if they could have protected him, anytime Nakua and Kupp are on the field together with Stafford and Kieran Williams in the backfield, they're going to score points. So if we're laying less than a field goal, I would take the Rams.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, we got our fourth game.
Yeah, Rams are still very much alive.
Totally. That whole division is wide open.
Yeah. Okay, so we both like the Rams. Nice.
Yeah.
Philly, Baltimore.
Such an interesting game.
Great game to watch. Not a
line
great game to bet on unless you wait for the live markets to open up. Like
what's the line?
2.5.
2.5. I mean, I don't know how you bet against Philly. Philly's dominating everybody. So
I like Philly. I would take, they're an underdog. I like Philly as a dog almost all the time. But going against Lamar,
very tough. I'm going to be rooting like hell for Philly this week. I hope Mason's team can help me out, man. I mean, listen, especially if we go into Cincinnati and lose the Steelers, and I mean, we're going to need Philly to beat them. Otherwise we lose first place in that division. So, but Philly, the way they're playing, what's that?
Short week for Baltimore.
Short week for Baltimore, West Coast to East Coast, the whole thing. I mean, it's a really tough spot for them, and then to play, that offensive line and the way they're playing in Philly, they've won 7 straight games, and Hurts does not turn the ball over. He has not turned it over.
And Philly is coming off extended rest, right? They played the Rams on Thursday night the previous week.
Was that a Thursday night game?
I think it was.
Huh.
Yeah.
I thought it was Sunday night.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yes.
Yeah, it was Sunday night.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
It was Sunday night, but Baltimore's on a short week. Listen, this game listen, if you could argue that this could be a Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that outlandish to think that those teams could get there, both of them. So it's an interesting game to watch. It's a tough game to bet.
That's exactly what I said. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So let's move on. Sunday night is San Francisco Buffalo.
Snow game. Another snow game we're going to be treated to.
Yeah, 6.5.
Is Purdy playing?
Huh?
The whole thing is about Purdy.
Not playing.
Are you sure?
Well, let me tell you
He was seen throwing the ball.
I think he's going to be questionable.
He was throwing the ball.
I don't think it looks good for him. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. Attempted just 2 passes during the session. I think there's something really going on there with that shoulder.
Okay.
When you have multiple MRIs.
Yeah.
In 1 week, and you're looking for something. You know what I mean? It's just sort of what is wrong? He doesn't have the strength in the shoulder to make the throws. And it's sort of I don't know if it's just a pain threshold thing or if there's something really going on there, but he is not able to throw the ball with any kind of velocity. And he hasn't been for 10 days.
Got to take the Bills. If it's less than a touchdown, you have to take the Bills. That's all there is to it. I mean, San Fran cannot compete without a quarterback. They proved that to us when the first series of the NFC Championship game in Philly. We all had San Fran plus 3.5.
Hold on. Let's go back to last week because I felt like there were moments in that Green Bay game in the second half where they were trying to put it together. And there were a couple key plays in that game, which really sort of broke them and broke the game open for the Packers. I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous about going against them again and piling on. You think they're done?
Buffalo at home on a Sunday night in that snow against a wounded animal. Yeah. They're playing great football. Josh Allen's playing at the top of his game. You're in a snow game. I mean, I know McCaffrey. Listen, I've been waiting for McCaffrey to be great. He hasn't been.
Oh, I know.
And
And
I
look, our
think,
handicap for why we like the Packers, it's really no different.
well, also you got to look at Trent Williams. If he
Look,
didn't play last week, if Trent
yeah.
Williams is not playing, you cannot bet San Francisco ever.
Let me see his status.
He didn't play last week,
No, I
so
know. He
it's a
is.
really hard game for San Francisco to think
He's
about
now
winning.
questionable. But Jesus, Cello, their whole offensive line. He didn't practice Wednesday.
Jack,
Their whole offense. They have 3 guys.
yeah.
Banks, Dominic Puny, all 3 questionable, and Trent.
Listen, I think it's time to stick the fork in San Francisco. They're done.
You think?
I think it's done. I think last game against Green Bay was their last chance to win a game. They're now 4-7. They're in a division. They're in last place.
Mm-hmm.
They have no quarterback. They have injuries on the offensive line. Their second best receivers out for the year. Debo's always hurt.
McCaffrey's not exactly right either.
McCaffrey's not 100% right, and their offensive line is not right. And they have a quarterback in this kid, Allen, who is not good enough to go to Buffalo and win a game. I mean, I'd be stunned.
I'm
So
with you. I like Buffalo.
let's lay the 6.5 and be happy that we're not laying 8, because that's where it's going to be when this thing kicks off.
Okay. Wow, we got 6 games we like already. All right, last game of the week is, and I can't believe they didn't flex this out. The Browns are playing the Cleveland Clowns are playing the Denver Broncos on Monday night. And I don't know what you think about this game, but you said it last week, or you said it in the text string during the game, that it was a Super Bowl. And I agree with you. I think that is going to be our high point of the season. I think, with all the best intentions, we're going to try to go to Denver. But man, that defense and that pass rush against our depleted offensive line and our, and Jameis Winston, who just, by the grace of God, literally through his own prayers, got him to the victory last week. But our defense, I'm not going to give them any credit because they were playing in a blizzard, and your offense is terrible. And Denver's offense is actually, look, it's not top half of the league, but I think it's better than Pittsburgh's. And you throw in Mile High, and you just throw in all the karma that and all the mojo that Denver has going for it. And I think this is sort of like a pretty easy pick. I think there's a lot of people out there that think Cleveland turned over a new leaf with Jameis and the way that we performed in that game against Pittsburgh. But as a Browns fan, I think it was a one-off, and I don't think that we're going to do well in this game. I could be wrong, but that's my gut. What do you think?
Well, let me just start by saying I think we both, Jameis Winston is a national treasure. I mean, the guy is one of the greatest, funniest, most genuine, God-loving human beings. I watch clips of him all week, how happy he is to play, how grateful he is to be playing, how excited he is, and how exciting he gets his teammates to play this game. It's like a real joy. He's a real kid, So it's hard to root against Jameis. And I've always been saying I've liked Jameis for a long time. And you know that because I talk about him all the time on this podcast. Even when they went to the Saints, I thought he'd play well, and he did. It was your defense let you down. The thing with this game is Bo Nix is getting a lot of attention in the national spotlight right now. Okay? Everyone is raving about this kid, Bo Nix. They can't stop talking about him. And Cortland Sutton and Sean Payton and the job they're doing. And I just, this is his first game on national TV under the lights. I know he's played a lot of games. He's 24 years old, 6 years in college. I know the whole thing. He's very mature. I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough to cover 6. Part of me says, and there's a lot of history with Cleveland going to Denver. I don't have to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of history there. It's just weird shit happens there,
Dirty Dan Sorensen speared Higgins in the end zone in the AFC Championship game the year Baker's last year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's there's that, but I'm thinking of the Biner game. This is going way back. Like
The
really
drive.
crazy shits happen with Browns in Denver and
0-7.
Denver in Browns. So
The
I
drive.
I I think it's a close game. I know that they're thrilled that they beat the Steelers, and we're going to see you the following week for the rematch of that game. So part of me almost is reassessing what I'm saying and saying maybe they're not going to be prepared. I don't really know. You know better than me, your team. It's really a skip for me. It's a skip.
I hear what you're saying, and I would love nothing more than to be wrong about everything I just said. And I'll be rooting hard for us. And I don't expect you to come on with and get on Denver, because I really don't. I think we have, like, just looking back at everything that we did on this show, I think we got some really solid candidates. And Cleveland could be feisty. They could. I just looked at the health of our defense. I mean, everyone's playing. I mean, we don't have Owusu Koromora back, but I guess Devin Bush is okay. I think we can. These guys don't have a good enough offense for us to necessarily be out of it. But again, to me, this game comes down to Jameis, and I just see Denver turning him over.
Yeah, Patrick Surtain Jr. is no joke.
Oh.
He's the best in the business. So it's 6, right?
Maybe we run. We just rely on the run and then keep the mistakes to a minimum. But yeah, he's got some magic to him, that's for sure.
You might get some weather there too. From what I understand, they got 20 inches at Vail.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
that's out west.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Denver's flat and it's east of all the mountain range stuff.
Correct. All right, so we'll skip it. Listen, I mean, honestly, if they didn't have the rematch with the Steelers the following week, I would be inclined to bet Cleveland because I think they could keep it close. But knowing that they have that game and that they're gonna be seeing them coming back around for sort of the revenge factor there.
You're almost rooting for Cleveland to be competitive in this game, because if this is a trap game and we're looking forward to playing Pittsburgh again, that's not good.
No.
Like all of a sudden we get blown out, and next thing you know, we'll be getting 6.5 next week,
right,
from Pittsburgh, and we'll show up.
Well, you're going to be getting. I think you'll be getting 5. 4.5.
Not 6.5. I don't see you don't really lay 6.5 ever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, we got a little bit of a consensus on the Chiefs, on Seattle. Nothing on Thanksgiving Day, but
I like the Bears. If I can get you to the 10.5, because the live line's 9, and you like 10.5, then we can take the Bears. If not, and you don't want to ruin your pre-turkey meal, then I'm okay with skipping it too. It's up to you.
Okay. Look, we have 6 games if we don't put that one in.
I think 5.
No, we had the Chiefs, Seattle, Atlanta, Arizona.
Yep.
The Rams and Buffalo.
Oh, right. We have 6. Okay.
So let's talk offline and we'll come. I'd rather not have one of our picks flying on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, let's just enjoy Thanksgiving and bet on.
Like we felt so good about the Colts last week, who I think are a better team than the Bears. And I know it's a division game, but betting against Detroit, and now knowing that history, and they're trying to break that snap that losing streak against a bad team. I mean, and Brad's been hot. I mean, I could see them lighting them up.
Yeah, Brad loves Detroit. Listen, it's hard to bet into Detroit. They're a buzzsaw. Yeah. But Caleb Williams, I think, has shown me enough with that offense, with those weapons that he has, and the injuries to Detroit. That's the other thing. There are some injuries there. They're not a healthy team, so that also kind of makes me think 10.5 might be a lot of points.
Okay. All right, everyone. Check your email tomorrow morning. We'll be sending out invites for the All Sports giveaway, $50 or $100 tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day, and
win some cash.
Everybody enjoy your turducken.
Turducken. Madden. John Madden, greatest.
All right, buddy. Enjoy your day. I'll talk to you later.
You too, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys.
Everyone. Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
All right, good show. Got it.
Good
in
luck
under
with
an
your
hour.
selections.
59 minutes.